Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
What is going on, everybody? It is Wisco Fanatics back with another episode of the 2024 NFL Draft. Today we have the linebackers and running backs. I believe we're going to start with the linebackers. Not a super impressive class, if you ask any of us here. It is myself, Tyler, and Simon. And the running backs, there's a...
Nope.
Oh, and Bryant, I'm sorry.
I ain't that ugly.
I was thinking Simon was gone. I was going to say that. I'm so sorry. I apologize. You are not that ugly. It's Bryant, Tyler, and myself, so I apologize. But, you know, the linebacker class is okay. The running back class is just above okay, in my opinion. There's a few guys that are kind of interesting, but
there's a couple guys that could be like some late round steals.
Nobody really to write home about, right? And, I was telling
Someone
Tyler
from
earlier,
the class will end up being a Pro Bowl or maybe two of them, but it's hard to really pinpoint which one that might be.
Well, and then on top of that, like, you have to think the position that the Packers are in. They're not looking to draft a Pro Bowl running back. They're looking to draft a guy that's a complement to their Pro Bowl running back who they gave a lot of money to, right? So it's tough to gauge who they're gonna pick, but there's a few guys that would fit the bill in my opinion. But yeah, without further ado, Bryant, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. Had a good week. Just getting through things, ready for the week. Got a busy weekend planned, so ramping up for that. But other than that, pretty good.
Yeah. I start football. Me and my son started another football season. Just some Y football right now. I actually had a parent meeting with the football coaches for Neenah Middle School because my son's going to be in 6th grade next year, so he'll do tackle football through the school. I got to tell you, man, the money they spend on these kids is astronomical, dude.
Wow.
So I got to tell you real quick. This is going to be real quick. They're going through everything. Oh, you can contact here. This is where drop-off is, where practice is, all this stuff, right? All of a sudden they go, yeah, so this is the money that we spent the last 3 years. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, hold on a sec. Wait a sec. $80,000 in the last 3 years on middle schoolers. Middle school.
That's coming out of your taxes, Jake. You're paying that.
Bruh. So my mind immediately goes, okay, so they've got this big, humongous jewel, this brand new high school in Neenah. And Neenah is one of the biggest schools in the state of Wisconsin. And they've got this big, brand new high school. You're not telling me that they're going out there looking ugly in the football team. Imagine the money they spent on the varsity team.
They're like the middle school Oregon Ducks.
They have the biggest middle school now because it's the old high school. The biggest middle school in the state of Wisconsin is in Neenah. So, I mean, the money that goes into this stuff is insane. I told my girlfriend right away, I'm like, dude, we are not part of the booster club. We don't care about the booster club. They have plenty of people who are going to be part of it. So they're going to get my kid who's really good at football. So you take what you get. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, my daughter, I have to drive 4 hours tomorrow because my daughter has dance. So I'm not complaining about it. I have to drive 2 hours there, 2 hours back. Her dance lasts about 4 to 5 minutes, and then they do the little awards, and then we leave. So we get to do that tomorrow, and then we get to come back to a 60th birthday party for my mother-in-law. Then Sunday, I'm just gonna go out to see. I'm finally gonna go see Dune 2 with some friends. So
heard that was good, actually.
Yeah, and then we might go. It's been really nice here in North Dakota, so we might go shoot some frisbee golf. So
frisbee
golf, huh?
I haven't done that in forever. So
it's probably been a solid 14 years.
At least, dude. At least.
Hey, it's great. Once you buy your disc, it's free. You know what I mean? I love golfing, don't get me wrong, but that cost me $40-$50 a round.
Are you a Masters guy? You watch the Masters?
Yeah, I've been 3 times to the Masters.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I followed Tiger 2019 when he won the opening day. I actually had the badge from the 4-day pass from the Masters, and then I got the flags.
Dude, that's actually
from 3 years. Yeah.
I'm not a big golf guy, but I love the Masters, dude. I'll like on Sunday, I'm going to turn the Masters on. I'm going to watch that.
It's a surreal feeling. You get in there and you can't have your phones or anything. Augusta is not the nicest of towns. You'd be shocked when you see where the golf course is because it's all brick wall. You can't really tell it's even there until you see the master signs. But it's like right down the street are really crappy homes. There's like a house right now on the land that they want to buy. This 92-year-old lady won't sell it. They're offering over $1 million for this house she built in the 59 or whatever it was. But they're buying up all that land, making people instant millionaires, trying to buy more land for parking. But you go in there, for one, they have free parking because they just bought. That's what they're buying the land for, is free parking for everyone. And then you go in there, pulled pork sandwich is like $2. Soda,
I saw the food stuff is actually like really reasonable,
super cheap. So the glasses you can buy soda, beer is $5, super cheap, like $5. And the glasses that they sell it to, and they're not just like crappy like throwaway styrofoam or anything. They're these plastic cups. So I actually have a bunch of them up in my kitchen right now that I've kept and reused or whatever because they're nice plastic cups. So yeah.
Wow.
But that 4-day pass, that badge I have, right after Tiger won, just that piece of plastic was selling for $300. I kept it though because I wanna mount it. I need to get it matted with I have a flag from the 2019 Masters, and I want to mount it with the piece of plastic.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Nice. All right. Well, I have Simon's notes as well, so we'll have our linebackers and running backs, and then I have Simon's as well to read off of his list that he sent us over. So I'm going to go last on running backs, on linebackers. Linebackers first. So I'll read Simon's first, and I'm going to go number 1. Simon has Edgerrin Cooper. So Bryant, who is your number 1 linebacker?
That's who I actually have, Edgerrin Cooper, and that's the guy I'm covering. If anyone, like most people probably have done, if you've watched a lot of Packer mocks or if you've done your own, this is someone that you've seen going to the Packers. I don't want him in the first round, but in the second round, I think he'd be a great pick. Or if we trade down in the very bottom of the first round and pick him up, I'd be okay with that probably too. Edgerrin Cooper, 6'2", 230 pounds, 4.51 speed. Good size and speed combo, and he has elite lateral quickness and physicality. He plays his ass off, to be honest. That's everything I read, is that he plays extremely hard every play. So he displayed a great burst with his 10-yard split was 1.54 seconds, so that's pretty elite as well. So he does have the speed to cover running backs and tight ends on deep routes. He's a fluid mover with good change and direction abilities. Quickly recognizes gap runs and beats the lineman to the spot. And then he uses good hand technique to slip the blocks. He does have the ability to rush the passer as well. Last year, and he finished the season with 8 sacks. So that's a lot of sacks from that position. He could still afford to add a little bit of muscle. They would have to decide if that's going to slow him down at all. I'm sure the NFL, those training staff can help him with that. But he probably wants to be able to add a little bit of muscle and then improve the angles he's taken when he's, in the open field to get to the tackles. And he's good at hitting the gap, but he can get distracted by a little more complex plays, play action. So, but overall, I think he's probably the best linebacker in a okay class, kind of like we opened with.
Alrighty. Jake, who's your number 1?
That's right. I have Peyton Wilson from NC State.
I also have Peyton Wilson as number 1. He's my first guy. He's 6'4", 233. From NC State, like Jake said, he had a 9.81 RAS. He had 6 sacks, 7.5 tackles for loss. And I couldn't not put this in my notes, but he had exactly 69 solo and 69 assisted tackles.
Nice.
Hey, nice.
I don't think he could have done that on purpose. Like, I don't think you can set that up. So
you don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe he was
like, I'm not making another tackle. That would be next level to be like, all right, I'm going to rack up 138 tackles this year, and it's going to be exactly 69 of each. All right. So he also had 3 interceptions and 3 passes defensed. I think one of my favorite things about him is he had a 4.7 missed tackle percentage. That is super low, super, super low. And then the other thing with him, he also had a 47.2 passer rating when targeted in coverage. That is also super, super low. He has a great motor, great closing speed, and actually he was clocked the fastest linebacker at the Senior Bowl, clocked at over 20 miles an hour. I think, in my opinion, the most versatile linebacker in the class. Maybe not necessarily the highest ceiling, but I do think when you're looking at run stopping, tackling, and coverage, I do think that's what makes him my number one, but I think that makes him the most versatile linebacker in the class. Not like a huge boost to his stock at all, but Jeff Hafley has coached against him by being in the ACC, so that is something, a small bit of familiarity there.
Yeah.
And then as far as, weaknesses, cons, whatever you want to say, I'd like to see him add maybe 10 pounds of muscle so he can just lay the wood a little bit. And then I understand being afraid of his injury history. Peyton Wilson has a pretty lengthy injury history, but based on how I saw him at the Senior Bowl and how he's looked when he's healthy, I would take him with probably the Packers' 41st pick. That's where I'd be comfortable taking him. Alrighty, Simon has Edgerrin Cooper number 1, so Simon has Peyton Wilson number 2. So Bryant, who's your number 2?
Peyton Wilson.
Jake, who's your number 2?
It's Cooper, but I want to say something. They go Cooper to Gene in the first round, Edgerrin Cooper in the second round, and Cooper Beebe at the other second round pick, and make this the Cooper draft. What do you say, huh?
I don't hate it.
You hit all the areas of need too. So,
all right. Number 2, I have Junior Colson. Simon number 3 has Junior Colson, and that's his guy. So Simon's notes on Junior Colson are that he's 21 years old, 6'2", 238 pounds. He's from Michigan. He had 53 pass rush snaps, 267 run defense snaps, and 342 coverage snaps in 2023. He had 68 solo tackles, 34 assisted, and only 5 missed tackles. He allowed 25 receptions on 36 targets and 1 touchdown and 1 forced incompletion for a 90.6 passer rating in coverage. His pros, very willing to be physical when taking on blocks, good feel for zone responsibilities, doesn't let himself be put out of position against pre-snap motions and play action, and great communication. His cons for Junior Colson are not a great athlete, just okay. Not the best change of direction, but not terrible. And just okay at getting off blocks, but struggles at times. So, Bryant, who is your number 3?
Junior Colson.
Jake, number 3?
Echo.
All right. That's where I have Edgerrin Cooper. So, the 3 of us all basically have them all interchangeable. So, number 4, Simon has Cedric Gray. Jake, Bryant, who's your number 4?
That's where I have Jeremiah Trotter, and he's actually the second person I'm covering. So Jeremiah Trotter, he's a little bit undersized, 6 foot, 228 pounds at a 4.6. So doesn't have the size and not necessarily the speed, but he plays with a high energy. He has good closing speed and burst when blitzing. There's one outlet I seen that said that he's the best coverage linebacker in the draft with Fred Warner-like traits. I don't think I would go that far. That's like comparing someone to probably a Hall of Fame linebacker. So I don't necessarily agree with that. But anytime you're compared to someone like that, you must be doing something a little bit right. I think he's a smart player and is able to quickly read whether it'll be a run or pass play. He hits hard and is able to cover sideline to sideline. So I think he's either plays faster than that 40 time that he ran, or he just uses his instincts to play to beat players to the spot, to be honest, because something doesn't really quite match up with a 4.6 for him to, be playing like that. So maybe he just had a bad run or something like that, or he just plays faster in pads. How other people throw pads on, they'll slow down a little bit. Maybe he just maintains that consistent speed. So he does try to run around blockers a little bit. Yeah. Say again. Sorry.
That's at angles too, maybe. And
yeah,
he's good at
exactly. So I think he just maybe he plays smarter than everyone else. So he does try to run around blockers. That's probably a lot to do with his size, his undersize, instead of running through them. So he needs to improve his tackling technique a little bit. One thing I did find interesting though is he did finish college he had 13 sacks. So he definitely can blitz from that position. Then he had 4 interceptions and 3 forced fumbles as well. So the dude's just a playmaker, to be honest, whether you want to look at his measurables or not. It's showing up on tape, and ultimately that's the most important thing.
Very true.
All right. Jake, who's your number 4?
That's why I have Cedric Gray, and that is my first guy. Out of North Carolina, he made Bruce Feldman's freak list. I love reading about these, man. The freak list is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I always read about it every year during the draft. He has 11.3% body fat, a 36.5 vertical, a 10 4-foot broad jump, and he can bench 390 pounds. Oh, on top of that, he hit over 20 miles per hour on the GPS. So pretty good athlete if you're looking for an athlete. He's explosive. I don't know if I mentioned that. And he has great range. It allows him to be effective in both run and pass situations. He played 880 snaps last year, 121 total tackles, 11 tackles for loss. He had 5 sacks, 54 stops, 21 pressures, 3 pass breakups, 1 interception, 9 hurries, 7 hits, and he had a 79 rating, passer rating allowed. So he had a very, very good year last year. He's a very high motor and just a relentless effort, in my opinion. He's good quarterback spy. They used him a lot in the quarterback spy, and he's a very instinctual player in pass coverage, great blitzer. The one thing that he does need to work on, though, is his missed tackle percentage is absolutely disgusting, and that's why he slips in this ranking. If he didn't have that missed tackle percentage, he'd be a lot higher in this list. He might be number 1, honestly, with how athletic and instinctual he is in the pass coverage. He just needs to not stop his feet, for one, and lift his head up. Those are 2 very common things why you miss tackles, right? We see it in the NFL all the time. Those are things that are fixable. So in my opinion, I think he'd be a great later day 2 pick.
Okay. Tackling high, I would throw in there as another thing for being bad at tackling, because there's a couple linebackers in this class where it's like, wish you would go lower, but is what it is.
Yeah, I agree.
Number 4 is also where I have Jeremiah Trotter. Moving to number 5, that's where Simon has Jeremiah Trotter. So, Bryant, who's your number 5?
That's where I have Cedric Gray.
All right. Jake, number 5.
That's where I have my other guy, Tommy Eichenberg out of Ohio State. What's that?
I said, really? Okay.
Yeah.
You mean
in my opinion,
don't do that.
He's the most pro-ready linebacker in this draft. When I say that, I'm not saying he's going to be the best or he has the highest ceiling. I just think if you're looking for a guy that you need to fill a role and you know what you're going to get out of him, I think Tommy Eichenberg is exactly what you're going to get. He had a really, really good 2022, and he kind of dipped in 2023. He was looked at as the leader, heart and soul of the Ohio State defense, which, by the way, was really freaking good last year, just so everybody remembers. And he was in the middle of that defense. He's an aggressive and violent tackler, shows sideline-to-sideline range with good athleticism. I put in quotes, he's a downhill type linebacker, just like a running back, right? There's some running backs where they need to be north-south running backs, right? They're not the dancing in the backfield types. He's a guy that when you tell him you're going to blitz through the A-gap and you're going to hit the hell out of that guy, he's good at that, okay? Really good at that. He does a good job of locating the football. And he only has a missed tackle percentage for his career under 10%, 9.7%. So that's very good, especially when you consider that you went to Ohio State. They play a lot of high-caliber players, skill position players, and they play in the Big Ten where there's some big boys there, man. So you have to be able to defend the run. That's all I have, 9.7% missed tackle percentage. So pretty good player. I think he's a little bit better than people say he is, and I think he's better than Jeremiah Trotter, obviously.
You got your point on, maybe being the more pro ready, maybe not the best overall. When I was doing my notes on him and I have him a little bit lower, I put him as like a lower ceiling, still like a middle kind of floor. I just put that he's safe. Yeah. He's a safe pick.
Almost like Isaiah McDuffie that we have now, probably someone like that can make the plays, but he's not gonna
wow you.
Yeah, not gonna wow you. Piece. And there's a spot on any roster for that type of player, right?
Someone the Packers have to be honest, they have like 3 or 4 of those kind of guys, like dartboard linebacker types that they're going to use on special teams. Yeah. And apparently Halfley loves guys like that. So
I could see him in green and gold for sure.
Yeah. Number 5 is where I have Cedric Gray. So moving on to number 6, Simon does have Tommy Eichenberg there. Bryant, who's your number 6?
I have Jordan McGee.
All right. Ooh. Jake, who's your number 6?
That's where I have Trotter.
Okay. Number 6. Okay. Now I'm going to preface this by saying this is my second guy. I think he probably should have been in with the edge rushers, but I have Javon Solomon number 6. Mm-hmm. Now he, with his size at 6'1", 246, he played a lot of defensive end in college. He did move around. He played defensive end, outside linebacker, and a little bit of just regular linebacker. But based on that, it seems like NFL scouts, reporters are preparing for him to be just a linebacker in the NFL. So that's why he's on my list of linebackers. I do think if the Packers were to draft him, that he would probably fit more like an edge rusher. But the edge rusher show is obviously over, so I can't go back and put him into that show.
What was his speed at that size?
So his speed, I don't remember what his. I think it was. I want to say he was in like the 4.6s.
Okay.
Because I have his RAS, but I didn't write down everything. So he had a 7.23 RAS, but that's as a defensive end. So the guy that does the relative athletic scores has him as a defensive end. So he does get like a red grade on his height and weight. So if you were to move him to linebacker or edge, I would expect that his RAS would go up. So he's 6'1", 246 pounds from Troy. Like I said, he's played all over defensively, but will probably be a linebacker in the NFL. He had 16 sacks and 18 tackles for loss last year.
Wow.
That'll do.
That'll do. Also forced 3 fumbles. He's really good versus the run. He has a great motor. He's fast and strong. He has long arms, which really help him as a pass rusher. There was one play that I watched of him. He just has one left arm extended onto a left tackle and just shoves him out of the way with one arm and goes and sacks the quarterback. Like all pro level play on tape. So he does rank actually as one of a handful of players in this draft class who rank as a plus run defender and pass rusher, to have a plus pass rush win rate and a plus run stopping grade. So there's a handful of them, and he's one of them. Now, I will say, as far as him being, like I said, more of a pass rushing type of linebacker, he has almost no coverage experience. So that does present, kind of a wild card. And his missed tackle percentage was 13.3. So that's where we kind of get into that gray area a little bit, with that starting to be a little high. But I would absolutely take a flyer on him. It doesn't have to be a day 2 pick or anything like that, but early day 3, I would absolutely take a flyer on Javon Solomon because his pass rush acumen is insane.
I'm with it.
Number 7, that's where Simon has his second guy, Marist Liufau, 23 years old, 6'2", 234 pounds. So these are Simon's notes on him. 129 pass rush snaps, 275 run defense, and 191 coverage snaps. 43 total tackles. He has a nasty amount of missed tackles with 10. Allowed 10 receptions on 11 targets. Forced 2 incompletions for a 90.2 passer rating and coverage. As a pass rusher, he produced 26 total pressures, which included 17 quarterback hurries, 4 quarterback hits, and 5 sacks. Simon's pros have him as a nasty downhill linebacker, has great power even at his size, a good change of direction ability, will never shy away from taking on blocks, and does a good job of pushing and pulling them. His cons are that he's a little bit slow with play recognition and has average long speed.
That's not great.
Yeah. That's why I like Peyton Wilson. He's got like 4 clips where he's just like chasing down wide receivers and running backs and stuff, and it's like, dude,
he's fast. He's really fast.
Yeah, he's insane. All right, Bryant, who's your number 7?
Tommy Eichenberg.
Jake, number 7.
I'm not going to talk too much about him, but this one's interesting. I'm glad that you brought up your RAS with your last guy, because I think that his RAS would be better if he was at his natural position, which I think is linebacker, but he was listed as safety and linebacker. It's James Williams out of Miami.
Yep, I had him at safety.
He's an interesting guy. There's a lot of teams that the Packers just did it a few years ago with a safety they just had. I forgot who it was.
Tariq Carpenter.
That's who it was, and they switched him to linebacker. It never worked out because he had so many injuries. He was always nicked up. But that's an interesting position right there, to have a guy with coverage ability who's, comfortable in space, but also down in the box. So I think that, he'll be an interesting guy. I'll be watching where he goes.
Yeah,
they did it with a few years ago with Owen Burks too, and I think he had a okay year with San Francisco or New Orleans last year.
Yeah, San Francisco last year he was pretty decent.
Well, until he got into the NFC Championship game, then he was getting cooked.
Yeah, that's true.
James Williams does make my list. He's a really interesting prospect.
Yeah.
Number 7 is where I have Jalen Ford from Texas. Number 8, Simon has Edefuan Ulofoshio.
Yeah.
He did not make my
all
list.
That. F all that, dude. I'm not saying that shit.
I'm just going to call him EU. All right.
Yeah, that's what his name is, EU.
Bryant, who's your number 8?
This is where I have someone with. I know we were talking about names last week. This is a really good name too for a linebacker, Steel Chambers.
Steel Chambers,
great name.
That's a hell of a linebacker name.
He's on my list too, a little bit lower, but that's a great name. I agree.
Jake, who's your number 8?
That's where I have Curtis Jacobs.
Okay, number 8, I actually have JD Bertrand from Notre Dame. He's another one of those guys actually at the Senior Bowl that was clocked over 20 miles an hour. So just throw that out there. Another fast linebacker. Number 9 is where Simon has Trevin Wallace. Bryant, who's your number 9?
Nathaniel Watson.
All right. Jake, who's your number 9?
About to say a name. Here we go. Marist Leafu. I tried my best. I watched the YouTube video and they were saying it so fast and excited. I was like, I can't even get the pronunciation. He's from Notre Dame, but he's a pretty good linebacker.
All right. Number 9, I also have Marist. I think it's Liu Fao.
I was going to say, I think it's Marist Leofau.
I thought it was Liafau.
Leofau, okay.
Just be Liu Fao.
But he could just have a better name.
It definitely ends in Fao.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 10 is where Simon has Jalen Ford. Bryant, who's your number 10?
Tyron Hopper.
All right. Jake, number 10?
That's where I have Jalen Ford.
All right. Number 10 is where I have Jackson Sermon. He was impressive to me at the Senior Bowl, and I think the NFL did him dirty by not inviting him to the Combine. He was the only player from the Senior Bowl that didn't get invited to the Combine.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's messed up.
Kind of got the shaft, in my opinion. Number 11, that's where Simon has Tyron Hopper. So, Bryant, who is your number 11?
Curtis Jacobs.
Jake, 11?
Steel Chambers.
11 is where I have James Williams. He, seriously, as like a hybrid player, he's really interesting.
Yeah.
He's 6'5", dude. He's freaking tall.
I think he measured at 6'4", but even still, being 6'4" is huge.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah.
Imagine a 6'4" safety.
And that's Kyle Hamilton, except he's got like 20 pounds on him yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Number 12 is where Simon has Curtis Jacobs. Bryant, who's your number 12?
That's where I have Marist Leofau.
Nicely done on that pronunciation. Jake, who's your number 12?
That's where I have JD Bertrand.
All right, number 12 is where I have Tommy Eichenberg.
Oh, damn, that low shit.
He doesn't like strike me as a guy that like I would need to have higher, in my opinion. He really just doesn't.
I mean,
he's a safe pick. Like
I'm with it.
That's Tommy Eichenberg is the vanilla ice cream of this draft.
100% he is. But vanilla ice cream is also the number one flavor of ice cream. So just saying.
And it's safe. So it's safe. That's what it is. All right. We can move on to running backs now. And this is a little more exciting than the linebackers, in my opinion. So got some fun names, and it's gonna be very interesting to see what order these end up being in, because I think it's going to be kind of all over the place. But I'm going to read Simon's first. Simon has Jonathan Brooks, number 1. That's his guy. So Simon's notes on Jonathan Brooks. 20 years old, 6 foot, 216, out. I think he's from Texas, I believe.
Yep.
He says he does not have a relative athletic score due to his torn ACL late in the season. I did read that he is expected to be ready for training camp when he gets drafted. So good news there. So Simon's notes for Brooks: 101 zone attempts, 86 gap attempts, 1,135 yards on 187 attempts, 25 receptions on 29 targets for 286 yards and 11 total touchdowns. Forced 63 missed tackles, 732 yards after contact for 3.91 yards after contact per attempt. His pros on Brooks: he has ideal size, speed, strength, and agility. Performed well in both gap and zone run schemes. Nice footwork and change of direction with great contact balance. That's one of my favorite things about him, actually. He has natural hands in the receiving game and is a reliable blocker. His cons: has good hands, but wasn't asked to do much as a route runner, tore his ACL on November 11th, which could mean he might not see the field until training camp or later. Due to being behind Bijan Robinson, he has limited usage as a primary runner. And that's one of those things where, like, depending on how you look at it, could be a pro or a con. Like, there's a lot of tread on the tires or not a lot of experience. Really depends on how you want to look at it.
Yeah.
So, Bryant, who is your number one running back?
That's right. I have Jonathan Brooks there too.
Jake, you too?
Nope.
You got your guy there?
I have my favorite running back, my favorite player in this draft. I had so much fun watching this guy. I watched him again yesterday just for shits and gigs. I had my running back notes done a long time ago. But I have Trey Benson out of Florida State. This guy is going to be a stud. I'm telling you. I tried to tell you guys last year that Gibbs is going to be a stud. What did he do? He went to Detroit behind a really good offensive line. Stud, monster, future star. Trey Benson, future star. I'm telling you right now, you're hearing on Wisco Fanatics. It's always true, especially when it comes from me. Just
always
kidding.
true.
Mostly from Tyler because he's smarter than me. But I get lucky every once in a while.
I'm good with wide receivers. I'll say that. I'm good with wide receivers. My hit rate on wide receivers is high.
I feel like I'm better with. I don't know why. I feel like I'm better with like running backs and I feel like I'm really good at D-line. But that's because I love D-line. But anyways, Trey Benson, he's a big guy. 6'1", 223. I mean, it's pretty big for a running back nowadays.
That's beef.
He had 156 carries for 905 yards and 14 touchdowns. It's a 5.8 yard average. He had 20 receptions for 227 yards and 1 touchdown. That's 11.4 yard average. And he ran a 4.3 at 220 pounds. Big physical guy with impressive speed and quickness. Runs through arm tackles. You don't even know all the arms are there half the time, to be honest with you. Guys are sticking arms out. It doesn't even look like it. They look like pool noodles. Great downhill runner, home run hitter. He'd be a great compliment. I wrote to Jones. This was before Aaron Jones got traded, to be completely honest with you. That's how long ago I got these notes done. But I am sprinting to the podium if he's available in the second round, man. Where does Benson get drafted? I don't see any of these running backs as first-round talents, to be completely honest with you.
We were talking about it before the show. There's no Gibbs. There's no Bijans in this draft.
I think that they're all, they could be early second-rounders. I'm not going to be upset with that. Like the 36 or, 34, the first pick of the –
I'd be okay with Jonathan Brooks at 41.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with second round for some of these guys. And I believe that, in my opinion, I would take Trey Benson at 41 if he was there. If you don't love any of your other guys, I would take Trey Benson. He was made for the Packers offense. He's an outside zone fiend. You guard, you block that outside guy, you kick out the inside linebacker, he's gone. My favorite part about him, 675 carries, 0 fumbles. He's a home run hitter, and he doesn't give the ball up. That's Green Bay Packers right there.
I think I wrote in my notes that he was a house call threat on every play.
He is, dude. Every time.
I could see Arizona picking someone at like 27 late, but
that's fair.
Yeah,
they need a lot of help. So
they need
Arizona
help.
Really taking potential. I'm not upset at that at all.
Yeah, they should be calling Minnesota trying to get 11 and 23 and another pick for number 4.
Yeah,
they should.
Okay, number 1, I also have Jonathan Brooks. So 3 out of 4 of us do. Simon's number 2 is Jalen Wright. Brian, who's your number 2?
Yeah. Trey Benson.
Okay. Jake, who's your number 2?
That's right. I have Jalen Wright from Tennessee.
Okay. I also have Jalen Wright, number 2. Simon's number 3 is Trey Benson. Bryant, who's your number 3?
Jalen Wright.
And Jake, number 3?
So Jalen Wright was my player.
Oh, that's your guy. Sorry. My bad.
Yeah. So this is someone I would, this is another really good player. I think Jalen Wright, 5'10", 210 pounds, ran a 4.38 40, so he's fast. Violent runner for his size and has really good balance that allows him to stay on his feet through contact. Kind of like Jake said, you're not going to bring him down with an arm tackle. He has good lateral movement and ability. He really has good ability to abruptly stop and start again. So you can help, stop jukes or stop jumps. Once he's in open field, he has breakaway speed. He's patient and he'll allow the plays to develop. He would fit well in the Green Bay's zone scheme that they tend to run, especially the outside zone. He does have the slight build at 210 pounds, not really all that slight, but I mean, it's still slight for a running back. So he will have to prove that he can do it against the NFL talent. And the biggest concern I have with him It's probably his fumbling problem. He fumbled 4 times in 2022, I think it was, on only like 140 something carries. He also has needs to improve in his receiving game. But he took a big step up. His first 2 years, he really wasn't active at all in the receiving game. Last year, he had 22 receptions, 141 yards. But then on his carries, he did have a 7.4 average on 137 carries, which is pretty, that's really damn good. So
that's nuts.
It ended up with 1,013 yards. So I think he, could be a good fit. But once again, that's a day 2 type of player for sure. And one of these guys would have to, I feel like one of these guys would have to fall quite a bit with where we're at in needs and already re-signing Dylan and bringing in Jacobs for us to really pick one of them. But
I've heard some rumblings that the Packers are trying to move A.J. Dillon to like a fullback role.
Interesting.
I've read a couple articles about that actually. So I think they are looking for a legit backup running back.
Interesting. All right, Jake, who's your number 3?
My number 3 is Blake Corum.
Okay, my number 3 is Trey Benson. Number 4 is where Simon has Blake Corum. Bryant, who's your number 4?
Marshawn Lloyd out of USC.
Okay. Jake, who's your number 4?
Only because he only has 1 year. That's where I have Brooks.
Okay. Number 4 is where I have my first guy. I have Audric Estime at number 4. So he is 5'11", 221 pounds. That's like ideal size for a running back, honestly. Out of Notre Dame, he has an 859 relative athletic score. His elusiveness rating per PFF is 126.5. That's very high. He ran for, guess it, 69 first downs in 2023.
Nice.
But he had 209 carries for 1,341 yards. That's a 6.4 yards per carry. He had 18 touchdowns, only 1 fumble. He had 892 yards after contact. That's 66.5% of his total yardage came after contact.
Yeah, he's a tough runner.
He is. I got one thing when I get to my cons that's going to frame it. That it's like when you try to make your weakness sound like a strength. That's what I have for him. I'll get there. So he forced 64 missed tackles, which is also a lot. He had 38 runs of 10-plus yards, 22 runs of 15-plus yards. He had 17 receptions on 17 targets, so 100% reception rate. And he had 142 yards in receiving. So he averaged 8.4 yards per reception. So it's not like he's just taking checkdowns. He had 3 pressures allowed and 51 pass blocks, allowed 1 sack. So it's not terrible, but decent for pass protection. That is something that I look at a lot with running backs. He's patient, but he runs violent. He has great balance. He has great stiff arms, guys bouncing off of him. He's always falling forward, always moving forward, keeping the legs churning. He's one of those type of players. I really actually like his footwork. Surprisingly for a guy his size, and he's not crazy speedy, but he hurdled like 11 players last year. And I'm not talking like leaping up in the air hurdling, but like the way that like sprinters hurdle when they're doing hurdles, he did that like 12 times last year.
Dude, those big guys are
doing good. Head with his thigh or something if he's jumping over you.
Dude, I wouldn't want to like run into him either, though.
He's pretty big, man. He's beefy.
So, surprisingly for his size, he, like I said, hurdled a lot of people. I really think he would actually be a really good fit in Green Bay to take over for A.J. Dillon in 2025.
Did he rerun his 40 at his pro day or anything?
So, I don't have his 40. I just have his athletic score. But overall, he is slow. But here's my note on this. He is slow, but tanks usually are.
I got him at 4.5. That's not too bad.
He ran a 4.7 at the combine, so.
Oh, on one of the websites I was reading off of, I have about a 4.5. 4.58, so not that far off.
No.
Yeah. But I really think he would be really good.
Or 4.52 or something like that. So yeah, that's fine. But I think at the combine, I think it was a 4.7 something he ran. Which is why I
really like him as a backup to Josh Jacobs.
Yeah. That's why I have him lower a little bit. So
number 5, Simon has Marshawn Lloyd. Brian, who's your number 5?
That's where I have actually. This might surprise you guys a little bit, but Braylon Allen. It's just when you have that size and that speed, Like it's crazy. What's he like 240 something? He ran a 4.4 flat.
Don't worry, I got more on him.
Yeah,
He's lower on my list. Actually, I'm actually impressed with you.
I had him higher on my list. I mean, when you just have that size and speed, I value that.
Alrighty, Jake, who's your number 5?
That's where I have Audric Estime.
Okay, number 5. I actually have Bryant's other guy. I have Bucky Irving at number 5.
Ooh,
I really like his combination of like running and catching. Number 6, that is where Simon has Braylon Allen. So Bryant and Simon having Braylon Allen higher than the guys from Wisconsin.
Wow, who's the Badgers fans here, Tyler?
I know, right? But you can tell we don't have bias, at least. I mean, they got that going for us.
Yeah.
All right. So Bryant, who is your number 6?
That's where I have Blake Corum.
Okay. Jake, number 6?
The best receiving running back in this draft, and my sleeper running back, Will Shipley.
Okay.
I'm kind of in love with Will Shipley. I would love him in the 3rd or 4th round, dude.
All right. I also have Blake Corum, number 6. Going to number 7, that's where Simon has Audric Estime. Bryant, who's your number 7?
That's where I have Bucky Irvin.
Okay.
So 5'9", 192 pounds, ran a 4.55. So you'd like him to be a little more quick at that size, but he is still very explosive, and he plays faster than that 40 time. Again, I've seen this with a couple players when I was going through these. Has the ability to turn any play into a touchdown because he gets to his top speed really quickly. If his top speed is 4.55, he gets there quick. He is decisive decision maker with good vision. He is effective in the receiving game, and he'll take some plays from the slot as well as wide receiver. So he's very light for the running back position, like I said. So that contributes to him being he's not a very good pass blocker. He also struggles to stop after getting to full speed. So as you know, when I was talking about Jalen Wright, he can stop and go again really quickly. Bucky Irving not as great at that, so he kind of has trouble with a change of direction. But last year he did rush for 1,180 yards and 11 touchdowns, and he also caught 56 passes for 413 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, he's an every down back. Maybe not on 3rd and long when you want a pass blocker, but he can catch the ball out of the backfield. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. He would be like a guy, like if you wanted insurance for Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
Like that would
I would not be upset with Bucky Irving at all.
Not at all. Jake, who's your number 7?
That's where I have Ray Davis.
All right. Number 7 is where I have Marshawn Lloyd. Number 8, that's where Simon has Ray Davis. And I'm going to preface this by saying Ray Davis is the best story in the draft.
By far.
Easily. If you have time, just look up Ray Davis's story. It's too much to tell here. Just look it up. Just read about Ray Davis and like how he's gotten to where he is. Absolutely deserves to be here.
I will definitely celebrate when he gets picked.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll see it on the draft too. I mean, they'll for sure show it.
Yeah, definitely. If you have a chance, read about him. Simon's notes on Ray Davis, 24 years old. There's reason for that as well. 5'8", 211 pounds. He had a 6.12 RAS. Simon's notes on Ray Davis, 67 zone attempts, 127 gap attempts, 1,131 yards on 197 attempts, 32 receptions on 39 targets for 324 yards and 21 total touchdowns. He forced 51 missed tackles, had 751 yards after contact for 3.81 yards after contact per attempt.
God damn.
That's a lot, yeah. Simon's notes for pros are great feel for blocking and a good one-cut ability, has good hands in the passing game, nice vision for both gap and zone schemes, but is more productive in zone. His cons are not great long speed, and due to size can be overwhelmed in pass protection. All right. Bryant, who is your number 8?
That's where I have Ray Davis.
Okay. Jake, number 8?
That's where I have Bucky Irving.
All right, number 8. You guys probably think this is a little high for him, but this is where I have my second guy, Cody Schrader. And honestly, I noticed Cody Schrader when we were doing offensive line. And I was looking at Javon Foster from Missouri, and I'm like, who the hell is this running back? Mm-hmm. And Cody Schrader was all over the tape. Now, Cody Schrader, he's a little undersized, 5'8", 202 from Missouri. 277 carries for 1,627 yards. That's 5.9 yards per carry. He had 14 touchdowns, also caught 21 of 29 passes. That's 84%, for another 192 yards. That's 9.1 yards per reception. And if you add his receiving and carries together, that's 6.1 yards per touch. He actually led the SEC in rushing, which when you consider all the players that are in the SEC, the fact that he led the SEC in rushing is a feather in his cap for me.
I agree.
He forced 51 missed tackles. He rarely goes down at first contact. He scored in 11 of 13 games, so pretty consistent. He's more of a one cut and then north-south type runner. He's not going to be dancing around in the backfield, juking guys or hurdling guys. He's cut and go.
Mm-hmm.
In 2023, he only had 3 games that he was less than 4.4 yards per carry. He had 9 games where he was over 5 yards per carry and 4 games over 8 yards per carry. He started as a walk-on actually at Truman State. He might be one of the better stories in the draft as well. Not Ray Davis level, but up there. Now, Stick with me on this because my comparison for him, I don't often do player comparisons, but I did one for Cody Schrader because I actually wrote a player spotlight on him. So I do have a player comparison for Cody Schrader, and it's Dalvin Cook. So just stick with me for a second here. He's 2 inches shorter, and he's 8 pounds lighter than Dalvin Cook. So the size isn't far off. He ran a 4.61 40. Dalvin Cook ran a 4.50. So they're not super far off on that. Now, this is where it gets a little more close. So they're similarly graded for elusiveness. So neither guy was, known for, being crazy elusive, which, like I said, not going to be jump cutting, juking, spin moving, all that. 2023 and 2022, Cody Schrader had a 75% reception percentage. Dalvin Cook's career reception percentage is 75%. And then looking at Cody Schrader, like I said, the speed is similar, but I'd like to see Schrader just be a little bit faster and have a little bit quicker feet. And he, in my opinion, could sharpen his route running a little bit. And then with him being at Truman State before going to Missouri, he is going to be 25 years old in September. But again, this is just one of those things where just how you look at it could be one way versus the other, where, a team that's looking to rebuild might be like, okay, this guy's going to be 25 versus a team that's, ready to win now could be like, okay, this guy's got a lot of experience. So it's really just kind of how you take it and how a front office looks at it and gauges those types of things. So, all right. Number 9, Simon has Bucky Irving. Brian, who's your number 9?
Audric Estime.
All right, Jake, number 9.
On Wisconsin is where I have my boy Braylon Allen. Just going to tell you right now, I'm going to get very redundant. He is a huge, massive, gigantic, enormous human being. He is all of those words. He is huge. He is 245 pounds, and he has 8% body fat. That is uncalled for. He went to high school at Fond du Lac, for all the people that live in Wisconsin. And he played running back, linebacker, and safety in high school. He actually got recruited to Wisconsin as a linebacker, switched to running back, skipped his senior season so he could play his freshman year at 17 years old. He's going to be 20 years old at the time of the draft. So he is super young. And he did get run into the ground a little bit at Wisconsin because that's what we do. We run the ball. And we have big, gigantic, mammoth human beings in front of you, and we pound the rock, and we make teams earn it, right? And Braylon Allen, definitely, you don't want to be one-on-one with him. He runs with an attitude. You have to tackle him low. You absolutely do not want to tackle him high because you're going to be going to the tent with some smelling salts. So I'm just going to tell you that right now. And I actually think he has really, really good hands. Now, obviously, Wisconsin didn't throw to him very much. And I think they could have utilized it a little bit more. But I think
they did a little bit more with Longo. But
yeah, he has really, really soft hands. So I think that part of his game is a little bit underrated. Obviously, he has the size and the base to become a really, really good pro sets on 3rd and longs, as Bryant was saying, a guy that can block for you on 3rd and longs. didn't really have to do that much at Wisconsin either, because, you know, he wasn't on the field for third downs because that wasn't his role. But he also made Bruce Feldman's freak list. He was number 34, actually. He could power clean 406 pounds. Think about that. 406 pounds, bro.
You'd take any of us and just lift him up, us over his head.
He has a 149 10-yard split.
Yeah, that's nuts.
That's ridiculous at that size, dude. Athleticism, you're never going to question. Now, he does get a lot of like ankle injuries, and he gets banged up that way because he's just so heavy and so big. So, I mean, yeah.
And Saquon in that way.
Yeah, and Michael said in the comments, Allen pick in the 4th round. Honestly, I wouldn't be mad at a 3rd round pick with Allen with the potential and his athleticism. 4th round would definitely be safer, in my opinion, but I wouldn't be upset with a 3rd round pick. I mean, Braylon Allen, again, 20 years old. I mean, you can have this guy for 10 years and he'll be 30. So you can give him 2 contracts, 3 contracts, damn near, and he can be 30 years old. Think about that. Doesn't happen for a lot of people. I mean, we talk about that with Kenny Clark all the time, right? It always feels like Kenny Clark's like 40 years old, but he's not.
He's been 26 for 4 years in a row.
Right. He's been on the rise for how long? But yeah, Braylon Allen, dude. And he ran a 4.440. So, I mean, monster.
So number 9, I actually have a guy. This is a guy that I would take on day 3, and I'd be really excited about his future prospects. I have Emily Bailey, number 9. I think he'd be a really interesting, kind of like the way that they picked up Emmanuel Wilson as like, okay, we're going to try to build him for the future. Emily Bailey is a guy like that. So that's why I have him at number 9. But looking at number 10, that's where Simon has Will Shipley. Bryant, who's your number 10?
Tyrone Tracy.
All right. Jake, number 10.
That's where I have Marshawn Lloyd.
Number 10 is where I have Ray Davis. Looking at number 11, Simon has Dylan Johnson from Washington. Bryant, who's your number 11?
Will Shipley.
Jake, number 11.
That's where I have Dylan Lobby out of New Hampshire.
All right. I like it. Number 11 is where I have Braylon Allen. His injuries, it's a lot. I get it.
Yeah.
And then again with pass blocking, that's an important thing for me when I'm looking at running backs. When with him just not having great numbers, partially because he doesn't have a lot of experience, that is a reason why I have him a little bit lower.
I don't disagree.
Simon actually has 2 Wisconsin running backs, one being a former Wisconsin running back, probably one of the best performers at the Combine. Simon has Isaac Garendo at number 12. Probably one of the, like I said, one of the best performers at the Combine. So I dig it. Bryant, who's your number 12?
Isaac Garendo.
Nice. Jake, number 12?
I also have Isaac Garendo, but I'm just going to tell you, he barely made my list, but Tyler knows this. His kick return ability is the reason that he snuck onto my list. He could be a kick returner, a special teamer, and he could also, give you that speed that you need out of the backfield. So, Tyler, I think you'd agree with that. I knew you would.
Yeah, that's absolutely factual. And the thing with Isaac Garendo is when we found out he was transferring out, we knew he was transferring to have a shot at the NFL.
Yep, 100%.
So he went to Louisville, and Louisville had a pretty good year. Louisville has some good players, and good for Isaac Garendo.
Agreed.
Cody's in here talking about hockey. If the Coyotes aren't moving to Milwaukee, I don't care, and I know they're not. So it is what it is.
Salt Lake City, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I get it. Number 12 is where I have Dylan.
You're going to get a fan base in Salt Lake City?
I mean, they have the Jazz.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. But all right. 12 is where I have Dylan Lowby. I don't know if you caught that or not, but yeah, that's my number 12. So there you have it. That is officially our draft series. We've covered all of our positions going all the way back to O-line. I know it's like looking at my notebook and like feeling the pages that I wrote on. It's like you feel a new notebook and it's like kind of stiff, and then like you feel the notebook that I have like pounds of ink into it, and it's like listening to like tissue paper crinkling because I have so much
right, bro.
On it.
Right. That's a great.
Like, normally notebooks like this thick, and now this one's like this because it's all puffed up from writing on it and stuff. A lot of writing, and as you could tell with where Jake and I have Braylon Allen, we don't We don't have Wisconsin sports bias on these things, so it's a lot of work that goes into it. And next week is the fun part, and the following week is the funner part. So
Man,
next Friday night is going to be live mock drafts. We'll do a bunch of them. We're going to mix them up. Appreciate it, Mike. Mike's becoming one of our biggest fans, which we appreciate. And then 2 weeks from now is going to be the draft, obviously. So we're going to be live on day 1 and day 2. Still kicking the tires if we're going to be live on day 3, but day 1, day 2 for sure. Other than that pretty much covers the draft. The other thing we wanted to throw out there, now that Simon's here, is that the Packers are playing in Brazil week 1.
Yeah. For me, I'm excited about this. Like, I don't know why this benefits Green Bay far more than it benefits Philly.
Absolutely. And Philly is the one that's the home team.
Yeah, exactly. So, and people must not know we have a pretty big fan base in Brazil. I didn't know much about it until they started talking about Brazil. So I'm guessing that's why the NFL put us there. I know Mark Murphy was like, oh, well, we'll have to bust Milwaukee and fly out. It's like, dude, stop just trying to make the most lamest excuses ever not to go there. It's the first week of the season. Like,
right.
It's not going to mess you up much. You're playing on a Friday. You're probably at least getting a late Sunday game or a late, afternoon game on Sunday. Possibly the Monday night game the following week. You'll be home by Saturday or Sunday. You're going into this fully rest. You'll have a game the Thursday before, I guess you can complain about because it'll be the last preseason game. Or no, they did like a 2-week break now in between them, didn't they? Yeah. So, you can't even complain much about that.
We don't have the full schedule yet, but
yeah. But for me, it's like, this is a huge advantage of us. We don't have to go to Philly, which, you can't even hardly get any Packers fans in there because they just threaten them and beat them up and hit them and throw crap at them. It's not even an enjoyable experience in that stadium. You can't root for your team, so no one wants to go there. You're going to Brazil. It's a neutral field at worst for Green Bay, likely a Green Bay heavy fan base. So for me, this is a win for us.
Honestly, I prefer Brazil to Europe because it's not as much of a time zone change.
Exactly.
Brazil is only like an hour or 2 ahead of Central Time.
Yep. It doesn't mess with you. You're not moving forward 5, 6, 7 hours.
Exactly. The temperature is not going to be crazy different. Like it's really not going to be that much different, except they're going to be in the south besides the north.
Actually, the temperature, I was hearing about this on the radio. The temperature for the game they were looking at, obviously you can't really project this far out to tell the exact.
Right.
They said it was going to be like in the lower 70s to the mid 60s. So honestly, for the time of the year that the football season is, that's perfect for Wisconsinites.
Absolutely.
And the game's going to be played at a big soccer stadium, so there's going to be tons of people there. The Brazil flag is green and yellow anyway.
45,000, I think, is their capacity. So
what city is it?
Sao Paulo.
Yeah, Sao Paulo.
So Sao Paulo is 2 hours ahead of us versus like the 5 or 6 when they go to Europe.
Yeah.
And it's my birthday weekend, so the Packers are definitely going to win. So just going to throw that out there.
The other thing that I want to throw out there with this, just speaking from Wisco Fanatics, is we've actually had people comment on our Packers shows from Brazil.
Yep.
Which is, honestly, it's really cool, and I'm hoping we can have a lot of that leading up to that week. But Brazilian Packers fans are insanely excited for this. And that makes me excited for them to be able to see a Green Bay Packers game live. Yeah.
And honestly, this is just, think about all the fans that might be down there that are new fans that don't have a team yet. Now they have a 50-50 chance of either picking, Green Bay or the Eagles. All this is doing is growing our fan base.
Absolutely.
We already have a decent fan base down there. Don't get me wrong. There's probably going to people like, oh, now I have a reason to travel to Brazil. I wouldn't recommend traveling to Brazil personally. Just be safe while you're down there if you do. But, I'm sure Green Bay will have plenty of security down there. But, they had the Olympics down there. There was some crazy stuff going on with that. But this is a chance just to even grow, the fan base even more which is great for Green Bay.
Yeah, and seeing the one person that I saw make like multiple videos about it, that people in Brazil love the Packers because of Green Bay, the city itself, because of the way that the people are. They love that the Packers are owned by the fans, by the community.
Boomer rages over Peacock.
Simon,
if you can't spend $5 to watch the game, then you're not a fan. I'm sorry.
Simon had to throw a comment in there about Boomer raging over Peacock.
I don't want to get into it, but I want to. I don't, but I do.
Hey, just get it for the month. There's actually a lot of good shows on Peacock, dude.
Brian, I've had this discussion, dude. I have literally exactly what you're saying right now. I've literally said this about Badgers games. There's actually good movies on there. There's good shows on there.
Great
it is
shows
$6 fucking dollars.
Yeah.
$6. You're telling me you can't skip a Friday fish fry for Peacock?
They'll go buy a pack of cigarettes for $8.50, but they can't spend $6 on a month of entertainment.
Buy some dip and just have their gums rot, but you can't pay $6 for Peacock.
You go watch some Twisted Metal, man.
I love Twisted Metal.
I'm only like 2 episodes in it, but it's been entertaining so far.
I love it. Yeah, I still have the original game to be actually. Yeah. But I mean, like The Office is on there, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is on there. Like, there's good stuff.
Yeah, they have Oppenheimer right now on there for free.
Simon
pretty sure it was on Peacock.
Fish fries. Making me feel bad.
Fish fries, dude. I get it. I'm not even a fish guy. I don't even eat fish because I think it's disgusting. But you can't skip one. Come on, man. I mean, Brian, there's a reason that I comment this stuff because I've had it with these boomers, man. I love reading the comments. As soon as I see that one of our teams, like the Brewers today, were on Apple TV. You know what I did today at work?
Sure wish I could watch it live.
I read the comments and I was like, oh, this is going to be so good. Like, I enjoy watching people piss and complain about nothing. Watch 10. Nobody has to hear about it.
Simon said he can't skip one.
Like,
Michael said Fish Friday night was amazing. Just saying.
I like that.
All right. Last thing I'm going to throw out there is come and hang out with Jake and I on Tuesday night. We're going to have a watch party for the Brewers and Padres, and we're going to have our pregame and postgame show going on for that. So come and hang out with us for that. That's going to be starting in May. That's only going to be for Patreon subscribers, which Michael is. So good for him. But check out the last free one that we're doing on Tuesday night. Other than that, I will see you guys next Friday for mock drafts. Mike Spofford is currently still slated to join. I got to double check with him next week to make sure he's still free and available and that his wife didn't make plans on him. But other than that, Mike Spofford is planning on being with us next Friday for mock drafts. So that'll be a lot of fun.
We need to send her like some flowers for letting them, spend his Friday nights with us from time to time.
Right.
Do that.
Maybe give her money for a fish fry, huh?
We'll pay for their Peacock subscription.
Yeah, right. All right, guys. I will see you guys next Friday night.
See ya.
See ya.